Brandon Creek in southwest Ireland, from where St Brendan also set his sail. Seven days out, Brendan was put to the test. She was hit by gales. Now 5 men's lives depended on her sound construction and their own endurance. For a day and 2 nights, the leather boat was battered and ran 100 miles out into the Atlantic. When the gale eased, they counted the cost. 1 man injured, another prostrate with seasickness. Their watertight provisions broached by the sea and ruined. But Brendan had survived to carry the injured man back to Ireland and the rest of them on with the voyage. And Tim had learned his first lessons as captain of a medieval boat.
It was a completely unknown factor being in Brendan at that time. She had never been out of sight of land until then, and the first time she really went out of sight of land was as the victim of a quite strong gale. I made certain mental notes. One of the most important was never to put to sea in a medieval boat without the stores and particularly the water to face at least 2 weeks, because one could be driven offshore 2 weeks away from gaining land and fresh water again. And in a medieval boat, you have to have that leeway of survival.
36 feet long on an 8-foot beam, Brendan offered little comfort to the men facing weeks aboard her. Arthur McGann, the youngest crew member.
It's like living in a tent, living in the cabin of that boat, except that there were 3 of us in there. That is very cramped. You've got to get in and out of sleeping bags, get clothes in and off. You've got to be very nice to everybody around you.
Tim Severin.
Certain things acquired enormous importance. Obviously, the question of keeping something dry and warm. One was absolutely religious about folding up and stowing the dry hat, the dry sweater, the dry socks, at whatever cost.
George Maloney.
The most difficult thing to get used to was being so cramped, not being able to move around, and having just to climb over everything. You know, there were no gangways, nothing like that.
With cramp came sickness, as Brendan's supple hull flexed to the shape of each wave.
In the first couple of weeks, I was very sick because she rose incredibly. The phenomenal stink of the hides didn't help at all.
But stomachs soon settled, and as they sailed north, the crew learned the measure of their boat's performance. George Maloney, sailing master.
We were very fortunate in that we had some very nice winds for the next few days, when we reckoned that we were achieving a height of perhaps 9 knots. 9 knots is a very good speed for a medieval boat at any time. This was with a following wind and quite a big sea running at the time. But it proved that we could really sail her fast.
What's the log? 83.4.
Wind?
Southwest 3.
Southwest 3?
Yes.
Fine. Thanks.
Arthur, nicknamed Boots after his favourite footwear, took on the job of voyage photographer as Brendan nosed her way up Scotland's Western Isles.